Fans of the Badger State, welcome back to This Week in Wisconsin Prep Hockey. Mike Hammond here, along with Bill Berg Jr., and Del Scanlon. Buddy, wave, hi, hello. I got to get one of those fancy pictures like you guys have on your background. Mine's just kind of boring. Well, we got a week
I don't know if you can really call a picture of the album cover of Blood, Sweat, and Tears' first album a fancy picture.
Well, to some people it is, I'm sure. You know, everything's fine with Junior, and Dell's got some RWD game action behind him. I mean, that's pretty good. Me, what do I have? Blinds and a green wall. I mean, it's
I got RWD and Rapids behind me, so
I see that. And
hey.
I see the
There's the coach.
Howdy, guys.
Hey, the bald
What's
guy.
up? How you doing, Brian?
The bald guys outnumber the hairy guys.
This is true.
Doing well, guys. Thanks.
my hair counts for two, though.
That was incredibly well timed, Coach.
Well, you know, I'm just happy I was able to connect my headphones. Otherwise, I just worry about sound.
Yeah. Hey, Coach, let me ask you something now that you're here. Now we're kind of ahead of ourselves here a little bit, but that's fine. We're not all that organized to start out this year anyways. Coach, let me ask you, do you guys take a different approach? How much of a different approach do you have with the COVID situation? How much does it affect what your players do on and off the ice?
It is like nothing that I've ever had to prepare for as a coach, because you're trying to control variables that are quite honestly uncontrollable. You're trying to ask kids who are largely unaffected by the virus. I mean, whether they have the virus or not, they're largely, you know, they end up healthy at the end of it. So there's hard for them to recognize between 14 and 18 years old the bigger picture here. And preparing as a coach now, you're setting up a whole bunch of items so that, like, just preparing for practice, you want to make sure that if you have a positive case as a coach within your program, that you're not going to contact trace your own players by what you're doing in practice. Like I look at, we at Wausau West, we've had 2 positive cases. We had one during captain's ice in preseason, and that shut everybody down for 2 weeks because the protocols weren't in place yet because it was captain's ice. So we couldn't commit to the health department that exposure didn't happen. Just about a week and a half ago now, we had a positive case, and because of all the mitigation practices that we're doing, there wasn't any contact traced kids from practice, and the exposure for the one player that got it was outside of hockey. You know, and the message we're sending our guys is to, I know you want to hang out with each other, but don't. Like we need to help limit the spread of this thing, and if we want to play hockey. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I can tell you the variables that we're trying to control right now as coaches is just incredible, and quite honestly, it's exhausting.
Well, Brian, we've had the same thing down here in Janesville. We had one kid that was found to be positive, and it wiped out last week. I mean, we had 4 games scheduled for last week. We were going to jump right into the fire. Now we lost 4. We lose Tuesday night's game. That's 5 games, you know, we can't play. Maybe we can make them up. Maybe we can't. I mean, it's just, I mean, it changes a lot of things, but it also, you know, it affects the schedule.
Scheduling, it's interesting. I just went through the website tonight and tried to update the Wausau West schedule, and we added a game with Rhinelander on Tuesday because Anago was in quarantine, and you know, conferences are trying to put limits on the number of games you can have because they want to have open conference dates later on. So that I think a lot of conferences are going to attempt to crown a conference champion, which I think that would be a win in of itself in the current scheduling nightmare that we're in. But I think teams got to get the games when they can get them and just play as long as we can play, because I think everybody understands it's not if, it's when that we're going to have a positive case, or you're going to have some contact tracing, whether it's through the schools or through the community or something like that, where you're going to lose players and you might have a light lineup or something like that. So you just want to try to get the games in as much as you can.
Now, I can tell you, I have a son on the Janesville team, and he's a senior. And I'll tell you what, you really got to feel sorry for these seniors. This is supposed to be their year to shine and, and enjoy all the stuff that goes along with it. And I mean, think about it, the season just may end up being patchwork for them.
Well, I think I feel horrible for this group. I was really hoping that this group would go not unaffected, but you look at the history of how last season went. Basically, after the state tournament for hockey is when things started to get shut down. So thankfully, we were able to get through our state tournament and have the season that we had. Where this year it's going to look a lot different. I think patchwork is probably a pretty good way to describe what a lot of things are going to look like. We're changing. I send an email out to our parents every day because there's things that are going to change, whether it's a busing issue or a game schedule issue or a practice issue. Like here at Marathon Park, our home ice arena, we share that with the Central Wisconsin Storm and East Merrill United. Well, East Merrill lost their rink up in Merrill. They shut the rink down, the Mark Center. So now we've had to shuffle the deck and kind of redo practice schedules so that those guys can have ice here. And I know we're not alone in that. There's going to be other ice arenas that shut down, and obviously Madison is its own element right now of chaos and just
chaos.
Yeah, just trying to get kids on the ice as safely as possible and try to provide some experience for those seniors to give them some version of normal right now.
Yeah, it's pretty ugly down here in the southern part of the state. You mentioned Madison, that whole Dane County area. I mean, you're talking Middleton, you're talking Verona, Sun Prairie, Stoughton, a lot of places. And it's hard to when they look for outside of the county ice because that's all getting booked up quickly. So, there's a bigger problem there.
Yeah, I think as a coaches association, we've tried to provide support for everybody and give them, avenues to play. I think, I've shared with you guys the teams that are playing WAHA, the teams that are playing WIAA, and I think everybody ultimately wants to come back to the WIAA season. I think that's the goal for everybody to get to. But obviously there's some different restrictions around the state that are limiting things. Like right now, the way that I look at it, we've got about 50 active teams right now on the boys side that I mean, some are starting a late start, some are practice only. Some are WAHA. So you throw all those variables in, I say we've got anywhere between 50 and 55 active teams when you look at it. So we're just trying to help our association coaches to do the best that they can to provide that season, because we all want to have some version of a season, especially for the seniors. We all worry about those kids and providing those guys the best experience we can, because a lot of these kids we've had, like my seniors I've known since they were mites, and you look at that, the relationships as coaches that you've had, you want to really send them off the best way we can.
I agree, and we don't know what's going to happen come, 6, 7, 8 weeks from now when, does this vaccine come out? We don't know. I mean, there's no, when you think about it, is there really even a guarantee that we have a state tournament?
Well, I can tell you right now, I met with the WIA last week, and the plan is to have a state tournament. It will look nothing like we've had before. No. It's too bad Trasher retired, because I think the state finals are going to be right there in Wisconsin Rapids. So I think, right now we want to do the playoff series. The regionals and sectionals are going to look like what we've seen before at local places. They're going to be at the best seed available is going to host. And I think what you're going to do is, once you get your sectional champion, then we're going to do local sites for the state semifinals as well. The goal right now is to have a Division I and a Division II champion. Right now, looking at Division II, there's 28 teams playing. And if it stayed at that number, that'd be a really nice, splits up evenly where you get 7 teams in each sectional. Division One, by Tom's calculations, he was up near, 48-ish. So again, it would, for 4 sections, I think it would be all right. I don't know that that's going to be the number. I mean, just watching how football played out and how teams got quarantined or shut down as the playoffs came in, I think there's going to be a lot of adjusting and adapting going on. But the plan is to crown a Division I champion, to crown a Division II champion, and try to make this as close to what it's been in the past. Right now, the tentative idea is to host regional sites for the semifinals for the state tournament, and then the state championship Saturday would be held in Wisconsin Rapids at Southwood County Arena.
With limited attendance, or
my guess, that's one thing we didn't talk about. It was the attendance side of it, but my guess is it's going to be limited attendance. It's probably going to be. Well, I know the reason they want to do it there is they want to get it on statewide television. So you're going to see that 9:30 start again. It'll be the same schedule that we've had in years past, or in last year's first event of 2 division champions. So you would see on statewide network. My guess is limited attendance.
So you would only see the state championship game, but the semifinal game would be being hosted by somebody, correct?
Correct. So 1 would host 4, 2 would host 3 in both divisions and girls.
So somebody would have to go on the road to possibly get to the state championship, correct?
Correct. And we talked about that too, because we know that there could be some significant travel in there. So there might be an opportunity to have a neutral site to host so that teams aren't traveling, some of the big, look at Northland Pines and Fond du Lac Springs. If those 2 teams had to play on a Thursday night, there's going to be some significant travel in there. So we want to try to limit that. And that was one of the topics brought up that Tom was going to take a look at and see what we can do about it, because we know it'll become an issue.
Now,
Bill, go ahead.
You've talked about a lot of stuff that many people might not know, that besides being the head coach at Wausau West, you're also the president of the Wisconsin Hockey Coaches Association. How is that different this year? What is the WHCA doing anything to get information out to the coaches, or are the coaches more dealing with athletic directors and their local authorities as far as COVID resources or other?
Well, we're directing. We get a lot of information from the WIAA, and we're trying to pass that information along to everybody. I think the number one is as a WHCA, we got to there's been coaching turnover. So the first month or so was trying to figure out who was the head coaches and where they were, what their emails were, so that they're getting all the information. This year we held a virtual coaches clinic, which in the past it's been piggybacked on a home Badger weekend down in Madison, where we get to hear some speakers speak. But this year we had a really good time with some of our speakers. We had Mark Osiki from Wisconsin, Mark Strobel from Wisconsin, Luke Strand from the Sioux City Musketeers. Mark Wick talked about mental health with the athletes and how as coaches we can coach them through the mental health side of this. Not only, I mean, the COVID world has provided a different mental health problem for all of us, but I think that as coaches, we get to see these kids day in and day out, and we can help them, go through that process. So that was a change for us. I mean, I think it was something that there could be a part of this that sticks around from that coaches clinic, because it was really great to be able to get those guys. We did it over 2 nights, so that was kind of nice too, where a guy didn't burn up his whole Saturday. It was just a couple hours on a Monday and a Tuesday, and it seemed to be went over well with the coaches, with the coaching group. I mean, we posted them on our website so that guys who couldn't make it can still get some of that information. Regarding a lot of that, I mean, it's just communication. I mean, that's the big thing, is to make sure that our coaches are getting information and asking questions. And a lot of times I take my the email question and I forward it right on to Tom. Like when we talked about facial coverings, or spit guards or whatever was acceptable with NFHS. Just a lot of different details that we know as coaches we're going to get questions about, and Tom's been really good about answering them.
Guys, got anything else for him? BJ, wow, you kind of blew me away with all this stuff. I didn't realize there was really that much going on already. I mean, it's all, administrative, and things like that, but there's been a lot going on off the ice more than on the ice.
Yeah, I think that's where every day when I get to practice, it's a relief. I think, and a lot of coaches will say that. We got to play 2 games this weekend, Thursday and a Saturday. And it was just to get to that first game, because our first game got canceled or postponed against Hudson. We were supposed to play them last week, Tuesday, but we had a positive case in there that we had to self-quarantine, contact trace, and make sure that we did it the right way. So we lost that game. It got pushed to next week. But yeah, I think when we get to the rink, we're somewhat relieved, and then it becomes a wrangling cats scenario, because, going back to that buy-in. I think a lot of coaches, we've talked about how to mitigate this, there's a lot of things that have changed. Like, for instance, we have 35 players, and they're going in at 11 or 12 at a time into the locker room. So now what used to take 15 minutes is now a 45-minute process to get guys in and out of the locker room safely. There's a lot that goes on to get on the ice and get to practice. Gosh, that's fun.
Yeah, we don't understand that.
When they eventually get on the ice, I'm sure there's some disappointment. Do the kids really seem to mind that there's really nobody in the stands? Just about everybody is 2 adults per player, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, it was a different environment in the games, that's for sure. I don't think the kids mind. I think they're happy they're playing. Everybody so far has been accommodating. There's a video stream that you can watch the game. So the parents that, for instance, the Wisconsin Valley Conference is home fans only. So all of the away fans will have a stream to watch it online. So that'll be completely different. It's going to be different. So we'll see how it goes when we get there.
You see, I've always wondered about that, as you mentioned, that home fans only. What if if you're a visiting player and a visiting player gets injured and, let's say it's something significant, and that parent can't be there. I mean, I kind of will throw that scenario out there, but I don't know. Can you maybe elaborate on that a little bit more? I mean, it's a legitimate scenario.
It is. And it's one that honestly, it didn't cross my mind to bring up to my athletic director. So I'll probably do that, because I know everybody wants to be able to go watch their kids. I mean, for you, MJ, and being a senior dad, I mean, I think that you want to go watch your son play, and you want to see it live. You don't want to have to watch it on TV or on a computer, those things. I think that it's a scenario that's very real, and you hope it doesn't happen. But I think they're trying to be safe in using it as a mitigation practice.
Well, BJ, the thing is I'm going to be able to watch the game in person, just for the simple fact that I'm the broadcaster for Janesville this year. So I will definitely be there. So that's one advantage of, I guess, of being one of us. So, but yeah, I just kind of wondered about that, about visitors. I mean, you would think an ice rink is big enough where everybody can spread out enough and be, have enough courtesy to realize that we can't be close to each other.
Well, I think part of I know one of the concerns of our athletic director was it's not just the parents going into the ice arena. It's parents or family members stopping in town to get dinner at a restaurant. It's them, mingling elsewhere. I think that was part of their concern with that side of it. And I know as a home parent, you're probably doing the same things too. But I think that was one of the concerns that came out of the athletic directors meeting within the Wisconsin Valley Conference. I know when we go, so you talk about the other side of coaching. The first game we played, I was getting more emails and texts about how do I get tickets, which was all online. And you're just like, just be patient. You wouldn't get your ticket until you were at the door anyway. You're trying to make sure that parents and families understand they're going to get a ticket, and those scenarios are still there, but every rink's going to be different. I mean, for instance, we're going to Rhinelander on Tuesday. That's 2 people per player, home or away. So I think there's going to be an opportunity where wherever you play as a coach, you're going to want to be able to reach out. Hey, what are your attendance policies? Because as much as you want to say the athletic directors are going to do it, they're completely swamped because they're dealing with 5 or 6 different sports in the winter season.
Right.
So as coaches, we're trying to put together a database of what each rink is going on. So maybe we can just look at that as opposed to emailing or texting each other.
Brian, quick question for you.
Go ahead.
Now you mentioned how some teams are playing WAHA, and some are doing WIAA. Can you, because we've heard from some fans, on comments and stuff about different things, but can you explain how the WIAA has been actually supportive of this and being able to, trying to make sure that these kids have a season to play?
Yeah, I mean, they've been really good about it because what they've done is if a team plays WAHA, and let's say, for instance, like in Madison, they picked the middle of January as a date. They've been very clear on how those WAHA teams can transition to WIAA hockey. So the same WIAA rules exist. So to start a season, if everybody started on our normal start date of November 16th, you have to practice 10 times before you can play your first game. So basically it's 11 days from you start because you can't go 7 days in a row. So 11 days in. Now they've been very clear to the WAHA groups that if and when you want to transition, just know that 11-day policy still exists for you. So you'd have to shut down your WAHA and start back up your WIA. The WIA has been great about communicating how this can be coached. Okay, because we can't use WIAA coaches on the WAHA side because it would be considered an out-of-season event. So they've been really good at allowing this to happen. It's basically a preseason team until you officially start your WIAA season. And I think for the coaches, it's been they've been communicating with their athletic director to know, hey, when is our day we're going? Because you could argue that the Madison schools started on November 16th and we're just practicing until you play a game. Well, no, they worked with their athletic directors to delay that start. So it's been a really good, I wouldn't say smooth. Like I would probably, for me, it's been smooth because I haven't had to transition to WAHA, but I can tell you that the WIA has put out a lot of information to help make it successful for the teams from WAHA to WIA. And they've said, you guys can schedule those teams, but it has to be under WIAA NFHS rules and it has to be WIAA officials. So they've made it an avenue for us as WIA schools to play the WAHA teams as well.
I just wanted to make a comment about some MJ. You're talking no visiting teams at some of these rinks. And MJ said, well, the parents, they'll still social distance and stuff. I was watching Northwestern University was playing somebody in football, and they showed, the stands. And, they only allowed a limited number of people in the stands who all congregated together at the 50-yard line. So they limited the numbers so they could spread out, but they didn't spread out. And this is Northwestern, where they're supposed to be like smart people. So to say that if you let this limited number of people in the stands, they're going to keep their distance, that may be giving them a little more credit than it actually is due.
Northwestern fans aren't that responsible, then, I guess. Is that what you're saying?
People will be people.
Yeah.
The best seats are on the 50-yard line, so that's where they all went.
Okay. Good point. Good point. You would hope that they would be responsible enough, but there's no guarantees. There's no guarantees that, that people would be that way about it. So,
yeah. Anyway.
Anything else for Brian?
Well, that's right. You're Brian this year.
No.
Yeah, I called you BJ a while ago.
That depends on the minute, right? I mean, I answer to both. I just know as coaches, we're excited to get to play, and to give our players an opportunity. And the coaches you talk to, as things go, you're just, hey, we get to play this week. Hey, we get to play today, and I think that's going to be a big part of this and allowing us to have a season. We appreciate you guys and what you guys do for high school hockey in Wisconsin. I think it's a big deal. It's become a source for people to get information regarding high school hockey. And it's been slow go for me. It's been low on my list, but I finally got down to getting our schedule and rosters updated so that we can get things updated on the site. But I know we appreciate what you guys do. So thank you.
Yeah, Brian, before you go, whoops,
I emailed all the coaches because you sent me the email list for this year. I emailed all the coaches and said, we don't know what's happening this year. We're probably not going to do a top 10 or a game of the week or a player of the week. Only 2 coaches really pushed back on that, and we still changed our mind. So next week,
what did you guys decide?
Next week, because the season started late, usually the first top 10 doesn't come out until this weekend anyway, the first weekend of December, other than Trasher's preseason one, but that was kind of his thing. Since the season started late, next week will be the first actual rankings, the top 6s. We're going to keep it for now, Division 1, Division 2, and girls. We're going to still do players of the week. Games of the week are still going to be iffy. Right now we have 1 on the schedule confirmed for this week, not a boys and a girls. It's just what we can get to. Like, Burglar's not going to any games. That's just not a thing that can happen. But
he's old and feeble.
Yes.
He's something, all right.
So games of the week we're not gonna, in the past we'd forced a game of the week. Like, none of us can really travel this week, but we made it happen. That's not going to happen so much this year, but player of the week's going to happen. Rankings are going to happen. We're going to try and keep it normal. So yeah, we only 2 coaches pushed back on that, but they did it loud enough.
Well, I think we appreciate it. I think the kids look forward to those things. I mean, I think it's data that they enjoy reading. I think that, for your game of the week, there's probably going to be a lot of live streams. So there could potentially be a live stream game of the week where you can do some things with that. I think we've trying to work with each coach right now in school to say, hey, are you live? Where can your game be watched? So that'd be something to throw out there too for you guys.
Brian, since we were talking a little bit about stats, I did have one stat that we'd love to see show up on the hockey coaches page, and that is the coaches winning their wins. How many wins the coaches have? Because this past week, you did have one of your coaches out of the association pick up his 300th win, and it just kind of makes nice for athletic directors too to have a place where they're able to look at that and see where you coaches are at on those.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I think that's something through the years that's gone away. I can remember as an assistant coach going to the Coaches Association conventions, whether it was the preseason or the one at the state tournament where they honored, 100, 200, 300. Obviously, I got to be around Pete and saw a lot bigger numbers than most of us get to see. But yeah, that's something we could add. I'm definitely going to throw that out there probably tonight before I shut the computer down as coaches to put that information out there and certainly honor the guys that have had a lot of success and been in the game for a long time.
Brian, how far are you behind Pete?
Well, what is Pete at? That'd be better. Is he 600 yet?
With the storm, he passed 600.
Okay. So 500 ish.
Behind.
It's not like, oh my goodness.
One last question is your dad's middle initial J also?
It is. I'm a junior.
All right, so you can be Brian, and next time I see him, I'll call him BJ.
Yeah, you could. You could. He jumped back into the coaching world this year. He's coaching my eldest daughter's U12 girls team, so he's he's back into the coaching world. So it's fun to see him interact at, you know, at his age. He's retired now. I think he needed something to do.
Brian, Burglar said last question, but now I got a last question. When you got into coaching and you had Pete Seasons as a coach, what's one thing from his coaching style that you took?
Well, man, hard to pick one. The one thing I took from Pete is he's a teacher, and the way that he taught the game to the kids and the way that he tied in, just, you know, as a teacher, you break things down into parts and then you put it together as a whole. And that was the one thing that, to watch him break skills down or break systems down in ways that you can teach kids parts of it at a time and then put it all together. I think, and the one thing I always took from Pete was his passion. I mean, I think he was super passionate with what he was doing, and every team that he had and that he coached. Man, I could probably go on for hours what I learned from Pete Seasons.
I can piggyback on that. Back in the early days of Wisconsin prep hockey, when we broadcast in the state tournament, we would always hope that Wausau West did not make it to the state tournament, because if they didn't make it to the state tournament, Pete would do the commentary for us on our broadcasts. And my son-in-law said, I learned more about hockey just listening to him, you know, breaking down the games on your broadcast. Yeah, you know, we didn't tell him we were rooting against them, but we wanted him in the booth, not on the bench.
Well, I think he's retired now. You guys should reach back out to him and see if he needs something to do in middle of February.
Well, it doesn't sound like they're. Well, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work this year.
It's hard to say what's going to happen in February.
Well, and that's just it. I think all of us as coaches we're week to week, day to day at this point, and I think that's where everybody seems to be in the world. And hopefully we can get through this and really enjoy hockey, enjoy being with the group of kids as coaches, coaching and developing these kids as humans, taking away, you know, the amount of COVID pressure that exists on them and all of those things, and hopefully give them a point of release during the day.
Especially when you get on the ice. Good place for them to be. All right, Brian, we will let you go.
Sounds good, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. We sure appreciate it. Feel free to stop by anytime.
You got it. Thanks, guys. See ya.
Okay, thank you. Brian Brandt, head coach of Wausau West, stopping by to say hi to us. And nobody told me he was coming on, but I'm glad he did. He filled a lot of our show for us.
He did. It actually made sense.
We were probably going to have a 5-minute show, and
as opposed to our usual nonsense.
Yeah, but it was good to have him. He cleared up a lot of things, a lot of questions that people might have, and from the Coaches Association, you got some answers. Well, let's move on to the regular part of the show. How do you follow that up, guys? That's a tough one. But let's go ahead and go to guys got out in the what do we got here? Guys, games that people got out to. Del, is that you?
That's me.
Okay.
I had to travel just across town, probably about 1.5 miles to get to Reedsburg Area Community Arena, the RACA. And I got there on Tuesday to watch RWD open their season against the WAPACA Comets. And WAPACA jumped out early on this game and took a 2-0 lead at the end of the first period. But then the second period, RWD came back, scored 3 to lead at 3-2 going into the third, and put it away in the third with 2 more goals for a 5-2 victory to open the season. And that gave Neil Matson his 299th victory as a head coach. And then RWD moved to Thursday, where they hosted the Red Raiders of Wisconsin Rapids. Wisconsin Rapids came in struggling a little bit. They had talked to Coach McDonald, and he said they had jumped off to an early lead in one of their games, and We're up 5-0 at one point and ended up losing the game 7-6. And they'd given up 7 goals in their other game, and they came to play RWD, and this turned into a game of 3 power play goals. And Rapids actually scored. Let me just look at my sheet here to make sure I have this right. RWD took a 1-0 lead with a power play goal in the first period. Rapids answered that with their own power play goal a minute into the second. And then the third period found RWD getting another power play goal and making that stand up for a win for 2-1 victory and Neil Matson's 300th career victory. And with that, let's toss it on back to you, MJ.
And also, a guy I'm familiar with, Mike Welch, was also part of that as well.
Yep.
300 is a nice big number of wins.
You would figure some coaches would be, 300 wins, hey, I had a pretty good run. Pete Susan says, I can double you on that.
Yeah.
And he did.
Well,
so 300 wins. I mean, for a lot of that time, you're only playing 20 games a season. So, I mean,
right.
300, I mean, you're talking, you got to win like 15 games a year for 20 years.
And I can tell you there's at least the first couple years that Neil coached it was the Reedsburg Beavers back then when they first started out, and stuff. And they struggled to put together any wins on those first few seasons when Neil was coaching and stuff. And so, for 300 victories,
Okay, so you're talking, you got to win 5 games a year for 60 years.
And stuff. So I mean, you're talking, one, you see the improvement that they made, coming on, the youth players coming up, and, just the tenacity to stick with it as the head coach for that long.
Congratulations.
Let's move on. Let's move on to our players of the week. And Burglar, since you are the founder and you wear many hats in this group, you want to go ahead and give us the
Am I the
players
last surviving original member? Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Well, you were the only surviving. Well, you were the only member at one point.
No. Well, anyway,
real trash.
Yeah. Our Wyndham Garden, Madison, Fitchburg Players of the Week. Gavin Gordon from the Northwest Icemen on Friday, November. Well, it's not strictly Player of the Week because this is the player of so far, the player of up until Sunday. Because on Friday, November 27th, he had a goal. He had their only goal. He had the Northwest Icemen's only goal in their 2-1 loss to Somerset, and then yesterday, he had 3 goals and an assist in their 5-2 win over Regis Altoona McDonald. So really being involved in 4 of his team's 5 goals that they scored over the period. Gavin Gordon from the Northwest Icemen is our Wyndham Garden Boys Player of the Week. On the girls' side, we have Ellie Bryce, also from out in that area, the Western Wisconsin Stars. On just this past Tuesday, she had 2 goals and 3 assists in a 6-1 win over Hayward. On Thursday, she followed up with 4 goals in a 7-2 win over Hudson. And yesterday, she had a goal and 2 assists in a 6-2 win over the Wisconsin Valley Union. Okay. So Ellie Bryce from the Western Wisconsin Stars is our girls Wyndham Garden of Madison Fitchburg Players of the Week. And it sounds like, unfortunately, the Wyndham Garden of Madison, which is actually in Pittsburgh, will not be the state tournament headquarters of Wisconsin Prep Hockey this year because, as we just found out earlier, there's not going to be a state tournament in Madison.
We can go down there and just watch it on TV from our rooms.
Only on Saturday.
Dell, are the Stars ready to make a leap this year? They've been getting better each of the last couple of years, but in that area, they've sort of been the odd team out. St. Croix Valley, everybody knows. Hudson, everybody knows. Hayward, Eau Claire, Altoona. But they just laid a beatdown on Hayward and Hudson, and they've got Eau Claire, Altoona coming up this week. Or Eau Claire area now.
Well, and the thing is, I don't know if that game will actually happen this week. I'm not sure when
Sorry, it's next week.
Eau Claire Stars actually get to start their practices and everything. I forget, because I saw Chippewa Falls wasn't starting till I think this week for their practices.
Monday.
But one thing on Ellie Bryce, we didn't include their first game of the season, which was on Friday, November 28th, when they played Viroqua, and she had actually put 6 goals up in that game in a 8-1 victory over Viroqua. And so that's given her 16 points on the season in her first 4 games.
Yeah,
Ellie Bryce off to a good start.
She has 13 goals. The rest of the team has 10, 11, 13, 14. So she has half the team's goals in 4 games, and it's not a small number.
And the other thing is it's going to be interesting to see how the team adapts through the year on this too, because you guys know as well as I do when other teams see that one player's scoring the majority of the goals like that, they'll do what they can to shut that player down. And, so it'll be interesting to see how the team adapts as the year goes.
Well, the Western Wisconsin Stars have been, what would you call them? The San Diego Chargers. I mean, they've been a really good regular season team, and then just seem to get knocked off early in the playoffs. Let's see if they can actually keep it going through whatever playoffs look like this year.
And then if they don't win in San Diego, they move to Los Angeles.
There you go. They'll move to Eastern Wisconsin.
That works. Junior, we skimmed over this a little bit tonight, but WIPH is going to go out and going to try to incorporate some of our usual stuff this year.
Yes. Like I said, the player of the week is going to happen.
It did.
Yeah, it did. As always, it depends on nominations. We can, on Sunday, look through the schedule and find people. We always do, but we prefer nominations. And this year, to be perfectly honest, we'd prefer seniors. It's not a senior award. It's never been a senior award, but this year we'd prefer seniors. Because everything Coach Brandt just said. And
also on that note, coaches or whoever enters the information on our website, because for those of you who aren't aware, the 4 of us do not enter everything that is on our website in terms of rosters and schedules, and that we rely on the coaches or somebody that the coach designates. And on your rosters, would you please designate the grade or class year of the player? I think graduation year is generally the number that we prefer, because you enter that once when they're freshmen and you don't have to change it again after that. But if you would, I looked at it, we had to update our roster widgets, and I looked at a lot of rosters that did not have a graduation year on there. So for instance, Gavin Gordon, don't know. I see that he had stats from last year and the year before. Does that mean he's a junior, or did he play WAHA as a freshman and he's a senior now? I don't know. Can't tell by looking at the site.
Bet you get an email telling you.
I hope so. So if you would, whoever enters the rosters, please put their graduation year in there. That would help us a great deal, because we want to, like we said earlier, we'd like to recognize as many of the seniors as we can this year. So
for obvious reasons.
Yes.
But Junior, we said players of the week, and what else are we going to try to get back to doing with this strange season?
Next game of the week, like I said, we're not going to force it. There were times when it's just like, we have our pre-meeting call before the podcast every week where we would be like, fine, I will go to that game. Because it's, we were 5, we're now 4 volunteers who have regular full-time jobs and families. So sometimes getting to games is not easy, but this year, with the whole, situation, we are not going to force a game of the week. But like Brian said, maybe, game of the week has always been a game that somebody from Wisconsin Prep Hockey attends in person. Maybe this year that has to change. We'll have to discuss that later about whether or not we want to do a streamed game as the game of the week.
Well, if we just pick one game to feature and
because if it's streaming, we can watch it. I mean,
you follow he the way Brian made it sound, just about every game is going to be streamed somewhere.
You would think.
Well, many.
Well, probably except Antigo home games because, I don't know if their 56K modem, can dial out fast enough to get that stuff on the air.
But the thing is,
quality.
I do see that they have Live Barn there.
Pardon me?
Antigo does have Live Barn.
Connected to their 56K modem?
Live Barn brings in their own internet connection.
Oh, okay.
In that vein, we will have a game of the week this week. Right now, just one confirmed, possibly a second. Notre Dame Academy will be at Waukesha on Friday, and MJ is going to be there. Right?
That's the plan.
Okay.
And Laurie has confirmed that?
Yes.
Okay.
My assistant has confirmed that.
We'll still have to make one more confirmation with Waukesha that media are allowed in the building.
That's already been sent.
Okay, yeah, because most schools it's 2 adults per skater, but then media can get in. Like Chad Holmes is still broadcasting games out of Wausau, even out of DC Everest, where I will be taking my kids for mini mites when I can't enter the building. That kind of thing. And then rankings. The last part is our rankings. They switched to top 6s last year. They're going to be back next week. So a week later than normal, but they'll be back next week. And then the last thing we need your help is I made a big push last week updating our TV and radio page where I list all the games where I know there's a broadcaster scheduled. And I will continue doing that throughout the season. But if there's a radio station that's missing and I haven't gotten a schedule back from them or that they're still doing it, let me know. And I will see if we can't track down that schedule. If you know that there is somebody streaming their games, let me know so I can get the link up to their page. I know that Ashwaubenon is streaming on Facebook. Bayport is on YouTube. Cedarburg is on Facebook. DC Everest and De Pere are on YouTube. Hudson has Raider streaming, which I don't know who runs it, but they do every Hudson game if they're allowed in the rink. Notre Dame Academy is on YouTube. Menominee is on YouTube. Rice Lakes student body has a YouTube. They do it there. St. Mary Springs is on Facebook. So if you know your team is broadcasting, let me know, and then let me know what games they're doing. I know Raider streaming for Hudson. If they're allowed in the building, they will usually be there. But DC Everest's is home games. I believe Ashwaubenon's is home games. So if you know what they're doing and their schedule, give it to me because I'm not clairvoyant. Many people interacting with on Twitter and Facebook seem to think that we're clairvoyant and that we just have all this information. No, we have to go out and find it, and we can't always do that. So help.
Clairvoyant, good word. Before we shut her down, I want to throw out, since you said Hudson.
Didn't she used to play for the Western Wisconsin Stars?
Clairvoyant?
Clairvoyant? Maybe not. Somebody else.
Before we close it up, you guys, Junior, we just touched on Hudson. I want to send out a congratulations to a guy that I know that played at Hudson, Jordan Halverson, who was our defensive player of the year after Chase Blackman from Hudson was our defensive player of the year. Jordan got a Division I commitment this week for college, and we're all thrilled for him because he's really worked hard to get it. So congratulations to Jordan on his Division I college commitment.
Are you going to tell us where?
St. Thomas up in the cities.
Okay.
They are going to a Division I schedule up in the Twin Cities. Yeah.
That's a big step up.
You better believe it is. But Jordan's worked very hard. He's been a lot of leadership down here in Janesville for the Jets, and he's earned it, and he's worked very hard for it. And I'm thrilled that he's going to get a Division I chance because it's something he's worked extremely hard at.
Cool.
Anything else you want to touch on, guys?
I believe my first year at Minnesota State Mankato was their first year playing D1 hockey. The 99-2000 season, I believe.
That
was
sounds
their first
about right.
Playing D1. It might have been their second season, but I'm pretty sure it was their first.
That sounds about right.
And to think, just a couple of years ago, they were like in the Frozen Four.
Yeah, I know another Wisconsin kid who just committed to there last year. Kid played for Eau Claire Memorial, Brendan Olson. Got a little brother named Carter who plays for the Old Ames now. Guys, anything else? I guess not with Dell. He's already muted.
Dell tries to stay muted most of the time. Was it coffee?
Dell's the only one that follows the rules.
I think the one thing that I'd like to ask the fans is if they have a suggestion on a game of the week, it doesn't hurt to email them in to us. As Junior said, a lot of it depends on, one, if any of us are able to get to it, and two, if we're allowed in to do it. But we would like to take photos of the games and make sure that the kids get covered.
Agreed upon.
Yeah,
All right.
because it's not necessarily it won't work this way, that the way it did in years past, where people would tell us, if you would make us the game of the week, you guys come over here early, we'll get you dinner at our finest steakhouse in town, and then you come and cover the game. And that always worked in the past, but that probably won't work this year.
Unless they get you a supersized Happy Meal or something like that, then we probably can make it work.
Yeah, I
But,
might actually, if I go to a game this year, I might actually have to flash the fake media badge, which I know that people from Wisconsin Prep Hockey have done that before to get into games. I've always paid and bought a ticket at the door, because schools aren't rolling in money. The hockey programs aren't rolling in money. I've always paid to get in. So, this year I might have to just, flash the media badge just so I'm allowed in.
Could you imagine what they would do to Trasher? They would lock the door on him. Nope, you're not coming in.
I'm sure that if the state tournament stays in Southwood County Rec Center, like Brian told us, everything is fluid. If it stays, I'm sure he'll unretire.
Well, of course. But I think it's kind of funny though that with this pandemic going on, that all of a sudden we're going to take this out of Madison.
Well,
it's just. Well, I understand why.
They're not even allowed to be in Madison, so.
Yeah, not allowed to play hockey in Madison. All right, guys. Good job tonight. Once again, thanks to Brian Brandt to come in and fill a lot of stuff for us and learn a lot of things from him as well. So for the two Bergs, Dell, and myself, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll try to do better next week on Wisconsin Prep Hockey.
We're not going to try and do better.